Hi, do you have a dream, a goal you want to reach? Or are you perhaps being busy? We all have 24 hours, so how do you invest your time? Are you time-wise, or is time slipping away without even knowing it? The good thing is the time is yours and you are the pilot in control. So as I say, let's skip to the good part. Welcome to this episode where I will show you solutions to help you to be time wise, get to your goals faster, and thrive in everyday life. Today's topic is about say yes and do it. Anyway, thriving when the cards are stacked against you. So, who am I? I am a certified efficiency expert and a black belt in Lean Six Sigma. I've worked in big professional companies for decades as project manager, and I'm a mom of four small kids. And today we have a guest. So, welcome to Kristin. She is a recognized expert in sales leadership as a best selling author, speaker, and coach. And for 2 decades, so she's been around a lot. She has worked internationally within Fortune 500 companies, and she has also launched her latest book last year, Be a Better Sales Leader. So welcome, Kristin. Could you
Thank you.
describe what you do?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Christy. I'm so honored to be sharing with your audience. Um, and the summary was perfect. One thing I love to do is help other people get out of their own way, have the tools to take massive action, and assume the permission that we already have. And that's all baked under this concept you said, say yes and figure it out.
Oh, I love your motto. Is it always easy to do that? Say yes and do it, figure it out.
No. No, and I think that's like the whole core of it, right? Is how to build resilience. Because I know personally from all of my stories I share with others that we all have stories that have made us who we are. The grit that we experienced growing up, the conditions, what side of the tracks you grew up on, literally, how many times you skinned your knees, factually or figuratively. As kids, since you said you have some, kids, and I have kids, right? The idea is that, like, when our kids skin their knees, we practically cheer for them a little bit, because depending on the age, we don't want them to start crying and freaking out, but also because a skinned knee proves that they tried it, proves that, like, just because they fell doesn't mean they're not going to keep getting back up. And somewhere along the way, as adults, we forget that. And so resilience is like the anchor in which, once you build your resilience, once you learn to fail forward, once we relearn the concepts that we learned as a kid, then we have more of the ability to say yes and figure it out.
Oh, I love the analogy of the kids because sometimes when a kid starts to, walk, we don't say, forget it, you will never walk. No, go up. But a part of that is having a supportive team like a mother and a father. So if
Yeah.
some of your clients are out there, oh, can I do this? Perhaps they need some support or a community to be in because sometimes it can be lonely to, oh, this is a new thing, out of your comfort zone. We all have been
Yes.
there. And we learn by going outside our own comfort zone. It's either what Steen and Tony says, growth. Are we growing or are we dying?
Mhm. The book Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Napoleon Hill, when he wrote that book, he studied 16 characteristics of successful people in back in the day, of like Dale Carnegie. And
Yep.
he noticed that these successful people all had these same 16 characteristics, and none of them were born with them. They all grew into them. And so one thing I love to do is share 5 of the characteristics.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So the first one is a burning desire. So we have to innately create a burning desire. I say innately and then I say create, but like truly, it's somewhere in us, it exists already, or we have to channel our strength and perseverance and resilience to grow and create this burning desire. We have like the why that makes you cry. Since you mentioned Dean Graziosi, that's who I learned that from. I used to go to Dean Graziosi's real estate summits when he was like still a Scottsdale, Arizona
Back in the
guy.
days, yeah.
Back in the day. So shout out to all my DGers. I would speak on his stages at the conferences. It was so fun. And he had this concept of the why that makes you cry. So your burning desire needs to be rooted. The second thing all of these successful people have in common is specialized knowledge. Malcolm Gladwell says 10,000 hours to become a specialized expert. But guess what? You and I both, probably even your kids at this point, they've been alive for longer than 10,000 hours. And
Yeah.
so we are naturally experts we just have to be able to lean into our expertise and call it such, specialized knowledge. The third thing is discipline. Are we showing up day after day? Consistency compounds, and it is way easier to give up. It is way easier to make excuses. This is so relevant, especially in health and fitness, or well, like, right? Because I mean, that bag of Oreos that I just bought yesterday from the superstore, like it calls my name, okay? But like, am I going on walks and am I lifting weights and am I doing those other things? Because the consistency is going to compound whether I go on walks and lift weights or whether I eat the Oreos. One way or another, the scale is going to tip. And so
you know it, you are aware of it.
Yeah. So in our jobs, regardless of what we do, right, working for somebody else, living in corporate, being an entrepreneur, we have to have the discipline to keep going. The fourth thing is we have to be decisive. Indecision is the wrong decision. So I think that like often people, oh man, I have to like use a bunch of spreadsheets, or paralysis by overanalysis takes over. But decisive in nature means that, once again, this concept of done is better than perfect, but like we can always course correct. But not making a decision means we're not taking steps forward. And when we're not taking steps forward, this is when we're growing or dying, as you
But
said.
that is so true, because some people say, oh, I don't know which road to choose. But that is in a way choosing to do nothing. And that is
Yes.
a decision as well. So you might as say to go this way or that way. So true. And Napoleon Hill has done a great research, and it still fits today. So I love that
So
book.
yes. And the last
That was
thing, the
number
fifth
4.
thing,
What's the last?
yes, number 4. The fifth thing is a mastermind community. Be part of a community. And that's also why I started telling the story, is because you're like, what is your environment when you're growing up? Like, do you have a support system? Can you figure out whether it's colleagues, your boss, paid mentor? I love investing personally in other people to help get me to where I need to go because they've already gotten there, right?
Yeah.
And so what does your support system, your mastermind community look like?
Oh, it's so true. And these are only 5 you mentioned, and there are more. But you've hit the spot on so many, and people in the audience might say, oh, yeah, I think I've heard those 5 before. They are so good, but they also can be hard to do. The one about, the specialized knowledge, the 10,000 hours. If you think about over a year, when people are saying, I don't have time, if you only spend about 15 minutes each day, you'll get 100 hours in a year. It's one of
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar's quotes about, you can find 18 or 15 minutes each day. And people are saying, yeah, I could scroll less, I could do this, I could do that. And I'm not talking about, getting rid of Netflix or breaks. We all need breaks, but it's about how we really get to our goals. So your burning desire, your number 1, it is so true. The one you mentioned about drafting and perfectionist. Oh, there are many people out there. Oh, this is not good enough.
Yeah.
But Napoleon Hill's, one of his best friends, had the quote about just do it now.
Yep. Yep.
So instead
Yeah.
of
Do it
being
now.
so afraid,
Even with the topic of like time management and efficiencies, when you were recapping the specialized knowledge and extra time with Zig Ziglar and your concepts here, think about something that, if you've never done this, write down every single activity. Like, some people track their food because they don't know how much food they take in. So if you're really going to course correct, actually track down the snacks and the bites and the licks and the whatever, because you don't realize it all adds up. The same is true with like how you spend your time. So think about, if you physically just took a journal around with you and wrote down from the minute you woke up to like when you were okay, I woke up at 5 a.m., but I didn't get out of bed until 5:45 because I spent 45 minutes scrolling my phone. And then once you actually are honest and transparent with yourself and vulnerable about where you're spending your time, now you can go. One thing I love is this concept of net, no extra time.
oh,
So I
that's good.
started walking about a year ago and recently realized, oops, I'd kind of come away from it. So as I'm walking again. And I love, now this is not like, every strategy is not for everybody, but I love listening to an audiobook on 2x while I'm walking. I heard
Oh
the
yeah.
strategy, listen to it on 2x and read. If you can listen to a book and read a book at the exact same time, you will actually increase your knowledge. But we speak at a faster pace than those audiobooks are recorded. So if 2x is too fast for you to start, just at least increase it a little to get it more to a normal pace of speech. But then there you are walking, doing something good for yourself, i.e. not skipping the breaks because they're so important, and listening. Now you can meditate, you could listen to the birds and the bees outside, right? You could smell the roses, but no extra time with audiobooks, and walking or working out really helps maximize your time efficiency.
Yeah, it is so true. I have always already been studying, speed reading as well. And it
Oh,
is
yes.
something you really have to be focused and alert, because you can speed read really fast and still retain and understand what is said in the book. Some people say, no, no, if I have to read a book, it has to be slow. And then, no, that's a different thing. You can actually read very fast. So I've done that with the audiobooks, double X or 1.5, because some of the audiobooks are so slow when they talk. And I say, that is not normal speaking, but it's a habit. I love
Yep.
what you're saying about being aware of what you use your time on. I use
Mm.
that with all my clients. And some people, not all, but about 70% of my clients are surprised at something they are doing in their everyday life. There are
Yes.
also apps to help them see when they say, I don't use so much time on Netflix or Facebook or whatever social media. And then they have an app that says, you have spent so many hours on it. Oops, was that? It's all
Yeah.
about being honest with yourself. Because as
Yep.
I say to my clients, you decide what you want. It's back to the burning desire. What do you really want? And then you decide what you use your time on.
Right. Because we are bombarded by distractions and notifications coming at us left, right, and center. We've got our cell phones, we have our email. I will open Instagram, is often happens on Instagram, to post something. And all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, I'm like, what did I even come into the kitchen for? Right. I mean, as
Yeah.
moms, we get that, like the mom brain, but like, what did I even open Instagram for in the first place? And that is because these distractions are just constantly at us. And so one thing I love to do is talk on stages and motivate big groups of people on like, what are the guardrails you can put around yourself on the distractions, so that you can be more focused, so that you can, because nobody has time to say yes and figure it out. Nobody has time to grow a business or cold call, especially if they're not in sales. No one has time to like iterate offers or increase their thought leadership if they're sitting here 8 to 5, 9 to 5, but they're not doing their work. If they're spending all that time we used to spend at the water cooler in offices, now just hunched over our phones looking at social media. We have to be intentional with our time.
Yeah. And when people have breaks, and breaks are very good, it actually helps us to get back and be more productive. So when you have those breaks, let your mind relax, do something different. When you're sitting on a laptop, watch out of the window or whatever you're doing, but do something, make a shift in your body.
Yes.
I liked it. I've seen you talk about, anxiety. It's the fear of what is perhaps going to happen. Could you
Right.
talk about that one? It was
Yes.
so.
Yeah, I think that well, I live in California, and so out here we have earthquakes. And so I'm not from here, which actually makes this even more relevant because I'm also sitting in a chair, and I sit here a lot, that like has some spring and bounce in it. And so I'm not kidding you. I feel a lot of our mini earthquakes. And but also because I'm not from here, like the house will shake at night and nobody else noticed, but I'm quickly Googling, was there just an earthquake in Long Beach? And like 8 times out of 10, there was, but nobody else felt it, right? The thing about earthquakes and anxiety is if I lived in a constant state of fear or anxiousness about that big earthquake that is coming. Similarly, I used to live in South Florida, and the rumor is Miami is going to be underwater by XYZ year.
Yeah.
And like the hurricanes are really bad. I lived on the ocean in like Fort Lauderdale for a minute. And yes, like the water comes up high, even in just high tide. So we're constantly anxious and worried about our current life, like external factors, or our business, things within our business that we can't control. Will somebody like my post? Will this thing work? Then it is truly the definition for me of imposter syndrome, which is it stops you in your tracks and make you feel like a fraud. This anxiety creeps up. If I felt like I had to have everything hyper prepared for what if and when this big mega earthquake hit, I couldn't actually get on with doing this thing that I feel so fulfilled doing by serving others with these skills and these gifts. So it's more about how do we just clear the noise? How do we recognize that we're always in a state of comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels? There are so few of us who truly post the transparent, vulnerable, like effect of what's happening in our life on social media. And I actually do a really great job at it. But like, I think I'm not even like 50% there, right? Most of what you still see is still a highlight reel. And so if anybody is sitting behind their desks feeling anxious about growing their business or making calls so that they can actually leave their corporate job and like lean into their expertise, if they're anxious about what if, they'll never actually take the step forward because they'll feel stuck in a trap of this comparison game. And so it's almost like, what are the simple strategies that I like to coach on? I can share them with you if you want. I have 4 strategies to like basically busting through all of this.
Bring
The
it
first
on,
step,
Kristin. We
yes,
want to
all
hear.
right. Okay, the first step is to decide. We have to decide. So like, let's bring it back to work, right? I'm going to decide that what's something that you're working toward, Christy? Let's use it. Or give me an example, or I can make one up, but.
We make one up that could fit your audience. So make it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm an entrepreneur. Let's say I work for corporate and I have leaned into my purpose and I found my purpose and I've done all this work. And now I want to monetize my expertise.
Yes.
And that is where, right, like tons of imposter syndrome creeps in, and like we have all the tools, but we can't make heads or tails over them. So the first thing is we want to decide, because again, indecision is the wrong decision, and decisive in nature is the skill of a successful person. So decide, I'm going to sell as a consultant. Decide, I'm going to coach other entrepreneurs. Make a decision as to how you're going to use your purpose. That is step one, decide. Step two is take a step. Take a step. Actually, take a step toward consulting businesses, let's say.
It's like start moving.
Yeah, because movement creates momentum, and it's not actually action that our brains are rewarding us from. We get dopamine, a hit of dopamine, when we feel a sense of accomplishment. That is why some of us thrive off of to-do lists. It's like really like real life example, because as crossing something off, your brain is rewarding you with a hit of dopamine saying good job. And so we think we're chasing progress and action, and I love to coach on action, but it's actually the movement, the momentum, the getting things done, the progress. So the second step.
It's so true when you mention a dopamine, because when people are scrolling through social media, internet, they're actually getting a dopamine kick out of, oh, that is an interesting idea. I could do that. But when they keep on scrolling, they get so many ideas and they get so dopamine kicked, they never end up following through and doing it.
Yes.
So they are tired.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right, because dopamine can come in lots of different forms, and it's not all good. So in this example, those are distractions, and you're still getting the dopamine, but it's you're in the wrong path at that point. You're in the wrong path in the forest, right? You're just lost. And so it's way better to turn off your notifications, to turn off social media, to hire somebody else maybe to do it, to utilize a virtual assistant maybe to do your posting, so that you're getting your word out there and interacting, but it's not causing you to be distracted. So decide.
And we're not saying about not doing a social media. No, use a time box so it doesn't take up all day.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I love that. Yes, turn a timer on, like literally, right? Yeah. So decide, take a step, and then lean in. So I love this concept because also it's tied to one of the 5 success criteria. Leaning in could be tied to number 5 with the mastermind community, leaning into a community. I previously said I love to lean into mentors who I've paid money for. Like I like to pay top dollar for the right mentors to move the actual needle in my business. And from those mentors, you find a community of other individuals, like regardless of what they're selling or doing, who are in a similar path as you. And so lean in to them, lean into your colleagues, lean into your mentors. One of the pillars I talk about in Be a Better Sales Leader is this concept of leaning in. Basically, like to summarize it, it's basically leaning in, asking for help, right? And constantly not knowing that you can't and don't have to do it all alone, and knowing that, utilize your resources and lean on somebody. So that's the third step. And then the last step, are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it on. Number 4
is to celebrate everything. I know every time I say that, people think, well, okay, right. Their brain immediately goes to, yes, I'll celebrate when I have a big sale. No, celebrate the fact that you woke up today. Celebrate the fact that you made a cold call today. Celebrate the fact that you went on a 5-minute walk instead of a 0-minute walk. One thing I love to do is encourage people in this process, this 4-step process, is like, I want to start walking, but all the stuff I see online is like, I need to walk 45 minutes a day and for 5 miles and. But this is why those couch to 5K, if you know that, like the couch to 5K running plans work, because it's not running a 5K right today, it's taking a step. And that step might be walking around your block. Just after lunch today, I walked around the block. Like, I'm like, celebrate that. And so we have to figure out how to start celebrating the little tiny wins along the way, so that when the big contract comes in, when the thing works, and you create an ROI in your business, that's obviously worth celebrating, but celebrate everything along the way.
Celebrate. Many of you in the audience have heard the word being grateful. Have gratitude and do it. Have a gratitude journal. This is also a way of celebrating what was good. It's a way of setting your system, your whole body up for, okay, that was a small win. There is a lot of curves about 1% better each day accumulates. It's a stacking effect. So then,
Yeah.
no, don't underestimate what one small walk today, or stop to eat that bun or whatever it is that you have a bad habit. Start changing just one small thing. And then at the end, you will end up a totally different place. Place. I love your 4 steps. When you said the number 3 about lean in, I'm a certified Lean Six Sigma. That is a different way of calling lean. That's more like lean processes. Leaning in is a different way of using the word lean. But I love your 4 steps. What is the most difficult when you help people to use those 4 steps? What's the most difficult for them in your experience?
Yeah, it depends on the individual. That's a good question. And thank you for the feedback. But it really is like meeting the person where they are, meeting the groups of people where they are, because we all get stuck, depending on the season we're in, at a different part in the process.
It's so true. And sometimes people forget. I teach you focus on time management. And many ask, yes, give me the tool. Yes, but the tools depends on who they are and how they should use them. So it's not just one size fits all. It's good that we both have processes, models we can use and say, okay, this, you go that way, you go this way, so we can help them much more. And I love the no extra time, net time. I use it a lot. So people are saying, that can't be done. Yeah, I'm a mom of 4 small kids. A lot can be done. Instead of saying, no, that can't be done, use your mind and say, how can it be done? What can I do differently? The word control. There are a lot of perfectionists out there who wants to control everything. Yes, in the ideal world, you can't control everyone except what you do yourself, but you can control how you react. So there is a old tip about write things down and find out what are the things that you are anxious about can you control? What are facts? It's like going back to finding the root cause. Is it an actual problem, fact, or is it something in your mind thinking, what if that happens? Some people are using a lot of time on something that has never happened. And in a way,
Right.
that is a waste of energy. And so
Definitely.
many, yeah. I think you are the one who's said at the earlier point is anxiety is a waste of energy.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, Tony Robbins says emotion is energy in motion.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there are so many good things out there. We can talk for hours about that. Um, there's something about the community. Some people are saying yes, and yes, I too have in communities. Some people are saying, yeah, but I can't pay for them. I can't find one. I think you have a quote. You said, if you can't find it, create one.
yeah, I mean, this is also part of my thought leadership is like, if you can't find a podcast to speak on, create one. It's so easy now with being able to go live on a platform. Like I was doing Facebook lives in 2017 and those videos all archived on my Facebook. And it's so funny to me that the 2017 Kristin is so similar to the 2023 Kristin. And had I had the right tools X number of years ago, I could have moved the needle that much faster because I was already there at the cusp. And so what are the tools available? What is the thing that you are struggling with? And yeah, lean in, create a community, find a community. There's so many free communities anyway. But otherwise you just create one on Facebook of moms who like cats, like whatever the thing is for you.
And
Then lead
also
the way.
finding specific topics, because sometimes when people are saying, I want this, okay, but perhaps people are using a different word. You know, I talk about time management, but some people talk about productivity and procrastination. It's all in the same ball game. So try,
Yeah.
if you want to find a community, find perhaps a slightly different word, and then there pops up. There are so many groups and communities out there. And yes, get some people to help you in the process. Um, what are you doing at the moment? I hear you're doing a lot of great things.
Thanks, Christy. I'm always up to something. I think that's the exciting thing. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I know you'll put in the show notes, and on Facebook and on Instagram and on YouTube. I'm like really trying. I've learned from some of the best of the best. And over the past 13, 14 months, as I've really honed and refined myself as an entrepreneur, it's like I can't give away enough free stuff. I just can't, because the more I give away, the more I learn how to coach and teach others. And there's always something else that you can sell right behind the free giveaways. So yeah, I would say check out the links in the show notes to see maybe where I am or what I'm up to now, depending on when you're listening to this podcast.
Oh, it's great. And I have seen you on different occasions, and it's not that you just focus on one thing. You have a big, broad spectrum of experience and learn and speaking gigs, and the book that you wrote last year. What is that
Yes.
focused on?
Well, the thing is, my mentor said, like, write the book you want to monetize. And at the time, I was looking to climb the corporate ladder from VP to C level to be a chief revenue officer. And I thought, okay, well, what better way to increase my credibility than to lean in to my sales experience and sales leadership and write the book? And so I learned the framework of how to write a book in 3 months.
Yeah.
And I released the book. The irony is I started writing the book March 1st of 2023. And I released the book May 31st of 2023, actually on Memorial Day. And the room don't release a book on a holiday, except I did it anyway, specifically. Anything is possible. This is the thing, right? Like, why delay the launch because it's a holiday? Why don't you lean in and figure out the right story to tell? And I did. I told a story about my grandfather and all the things, who was a veteran and who was an entrepreneur and a salesperson. So in that 3-month window, I lost my job. So April 17th of 2023, I lost my job. So March, I started the book. April, I lost my job as a VP of sales. And I still leaned in to writing the book, How to Be a Better Sales Leader. And the thing is, now I'm heading off somewhere else soon to write my second book. And I'm so excited because a book, while it in and of itself is going to make you pennies off of Amazon, even when it's a bestseller and all the things, it's everything else that the book does to increase your thought leadership, to get you recognized. I had new clients of mine sliding into my DMs on LinkedIn saying like, hey, I have a copy of your book. Like, can we have a call? Can we set up a call to talk? And that is really why the book elevates your expertise the way a lot of these things do. And so, yes, like I am known as by a lot of people as like the LFG queen, or like the girl who gets it done. And my action-based strategies are all wrapped in my experience as sales. And out there in the world, you see me coaching both enterprises and organizations on how to do sales better.
Yeah.
And you see me coaching entrepreneurs, because so many entrepreneurs come into entrepreneurship because they found their purpose and they want to monetize it, and they don't have the skill set to sell. And so I realized that my unique abilities as a salesperson and as an entrepreneur lend me to being able to help others who already have their ideas baked, who are already ready to go. And now they're just stuck. They're like in their own way. They've got a ton of imposter syndrome, and they need a simple and clear path to taking the next step. So one thing I love to do is coach entrepreneurs on how to monetize their expertise with my action-based strategies.
And that is actually the fun part. I like it as well, because when we are doing either coaching or speaking, we are helping another person out there, because every person has their uniqueness and have a knowledge, but a lot of them don't know how to do this, how to do that. And us, we are a chapter ahead. So we can go back and say, okay, we advise you to do this and make it much more simple. And I think it's fun to help people and speak. So as people can hear, you are fully pumped up and want to talk again. So as you said earlier, there will be a link below where you can follow up what Kristin is doing at the moment. Can you pronounce your last name so people can know that?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's Gutierrez. I know it's not, it's a married name, and the Latin and Mexican side of the family, like they definitely say whatever version that they want, but it's very even my now ex-husband just very simply says Gutierrez. But yeah, it is one of those names where I think we see the double R, we feel like we need to roll the R, and the I and the E. I've had the name for enough years now to know that it tends to trip people up
It is
unnecessarily.
just right out the fast lane. So to shortly sum up, you have given us insights from Think and Go Rich, where you explained about 5 of the top things, and those are so basic. So if anyone wants to hear more about that, go read the book, or perhaps join Kristin on another thing she's doing. And the 4 steps to shortly recap: decide, take one step, lean into community, and celebrate. And I would end this up by celebrating and saying, I think we've had a really great time. You have shared some of your vast knowledge. People can feel the energy, because that is something when we're out in this virtual world. Oh, is this just a person who is, no, we are full of energy here, and you can help people. I can help people. I think it's fun. So if anyone out there is hearing this, come join a masterclass either with Kristin or the masterclass. You get to hear a person, know what they're all about, find out the chemistry, and we learn every time. So people out there, join up, follow the links below, follow my podcast. You can click to follow for more, and hope to see you back another time, Kristin, on your journey, perhaps after your second book. Let's cross
I love
fingers.
it. Yay. Thank you so much, Christy. Thank you.
Thanks for having you here. Bye-bye.